Dear guests, welcome to this session devoted to the subject of the New World Order. The sun will belong to every one of us. Today, I want to deal with the question, what will the New World Order look like? I shall put the main emphasis on the philosophy of the one unifying whole. Question 1. What will the New World Order look like? 3 main pillars will serve as a basis for the New World Order. Together, they will support, strengthen, and protect each other. Pillar 1. The philosophy of the one unifying whole. Pillar 2. Child rearing practices and the educational system. Pillar 3. The universal basic rules of life. Now to the individual pillars. Pillar 1. The philosophy of one unifying whole. In order to illustrate the philosophy of the one unifying whole, I would like to take you along on a short journey. Please close your eyes and imagine the following. The universe and one unifying whole. The unending universe forms one unifying whole together with its countless stars, constellations, and galaxies, which themselves form their own unities and entireties. The Milky Way, as an indispensable part of the universe, forms one unifying whole. The solar system, as an inseparable and indispensable part of the Milky Way, forms one unifying whole. The Earth, as an inseparable part of the solar system, is one unifying whole. The world of living things, as an inseparable part of the earth, is one unifying whole. Mankind, as an inseparable part of the world of living things, is one unifying whole. The individual and one unifying whole. The individual, which we call man, embodies one unifying whole with his entire being and is an indispensable part of mankind. The body of an individual consists of organs, which consist of parts and countless cells. Each organ, each part, and each cell forms its own unifying whole. Each organ is arranged differently and has a different shape and a different job and function from other organs. It can also work independently of other organs. If one of the organs is missing or fails to function, the physical unity is incomplete and the wholeness does not exist. If one of the organs is separated from the physical whole, that is the end of its life, just as a cell also dies when it is removed from an organ. A man can only function as an individual and lead his life when all of his organs do their job together in harmony. Picture this for a better understanding. Peter is sitting in the kitchen. His nose has picked up a smell. He realizes that it is the smell of something burning. He turns his head towards the cooker. What does he see? A piece of newspaper is burning on the cooker. As a result, Peter jumps up, runs to the cooker, and extinguishes the flames. The organ that detects the smell is Peter's nose. The organ that sees the flames is not Peter's stomach, it's his eyes. The organs that enable him to get to the cooker are not his hands, but his feet. What would have happened if Peter's nose had not been able to smell anything? If Peter's eyes had not been able to see the fire? If Peter's hands had not been capable of putting out the fire? Conclusion. With all of its organs, a body forms one unifying whole and fulfills its functions when all of the organs work together in harmony. What do you think? Can we apply this principle to life in society? Society and one unifying whole. Life in society begins when at least two people come together due to something which unites them at that moment. Let us say, for example, that a young woman and a young man find each other attractive. They make the decision to live their lives together. At the outset of the decision, it is clear who will play what role in a particular area of life. In other areas, it becomes clear only after a time who assumes the responsibility for what. In those areas in which the woman has more competence, the man will play a supportive role. In those areas in which the man is stronger, the woman will play a secondary role. Conclusion. This couple could form the smallest social unifying whole. By acting in harmony, the two could establish and lead a life together. Another example. A family would like to build its own house. Can this family build a house from the foundation to the roof without outside help? When building a house, a considerable number of people from various occupational groups would have to be involved, including architects, bricklayers, roofers, and so on. People from the aforementioned groups come together and form one unifying whole. The members of this unifying whole act in combination and build the house. We can apply the manner in which the builders are active to all areas and all sectors of life in society. Mankind and one unifying whole. The individual is made up of organs and forms a unifying whole. Social organs are made up of single individuals, and they in turn form a unifying whole. Societies are made up of social organs, and each society forms a unifying whole. Mankind consists of societies and forms the complete unifying whole. Thus, mankind forms one unifying whole, just as the universe does, with its countless stars, constellations, and galaxies. Mankind represents a unifying whole to the same extent that the individual does. For example, Peter, who is made up of organs, which in turn are made up of parts and countless cells. Mankind is just as much a unifying whole as a social organ. For example, the building and construction industry, which is made up of individuals with different skills and abilities, such as architects, bricklayers, roofers, and so on. Now I shall summarize everything. The consequence for the individual. Every individual, every person who has completely understood the philosophy of the one unifying whole will discover a path that leads him to his self. On this inward journey, he will 1. Discover and get to know the indescribable beauty and riches of his inner world, and 2. Develop a sense of how important and how precious he is. He will begin to accept himself as he is, and to no longer compare himself with other people. To respect himself and to love himself more and more. To radiate outward the beauty of his inner world and his increasing zest for life. To see and to approach and to deal with all people as if every one of them were he himself. To place his respect for Mother Nature on a true, healthy, and stable foundation. Thus, every individual who has internalized the philosophy of the one unifying whole will find the true self, therefore himself, and will comprehend the meaning of universal life. The consequence for society. Once the philosophy of the one unifying whole has been internalized, a process of change will begin in the personality of the individual. A process of change which will soon be noticeable in the social life of all mankind. As a result of that, people will no longer measure each other's worth on the basis of their different skills and capabilities, or on the basis of their standing in society. They will regard no one more or less worthy of respect than themselves. They will consider their work to be no more or less useful than the work of others. People will realize that all groups, communities, societies, and mankind form one unifying whole. the consequence for mankind. We can apply the behaviour of an individual, for example, of Peter, to the behaviour of a social organ, for example, the building and construction industry. We can transfer the behaviour of a social organ, for example, the building and construction industry, to the whole society, for example, that of Germany. We can transfer the behaviour of a society, for example, that of Germany, to human society as a whole, that is to say, to the body of mankind. The most important principles and values of the one unifying whole. 1. A common bond. We belong together, like the organs of a human body, the staff of a hospital, the crew of an airplane, the workers in a factory. 2. Equality. We are all equal. It is without question that all men are equal, and it is without question that positions and jobs are equal. I now create a synthesis of solidarity and equality and state, we are all for us all. Since all the individuals who make up social organs, societies, and all of mankind will thoroughly internalize the philosophy of the one unifying whole, they will organize and lead their life in the spirit of this philosophy. We are all for us all. For this reason, they will devote what they all have in common: their intellect, their conscience, and their consciousness to all aspects of their personal and social life, in order to protect and secure life on our planet, individual happiness, and the happiness of mankind. Dear guests, this is the end of today's presentation. In the next session, I shall explain what the new world order should look like. I shall introduce child rearing practices and the educational system, and mention the universal basic rules of life. I thank you for your interest. I look forward to the next session, and I wish you all the very best. The sun will belong to every one of us. Until then,